For this pavlova, we will need 4 egg whites, as I have right here, preferably room temperature so that they can whip easily, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of white distilled vinegar. We will start by adding the 4 egg whites to the mixer, and we can turn it up to medium-high speed. Once they start getting foamy, then we'll start adding our sugar. So we'll start the egg whites right here. Once the egg whites are foamy and starting to form those soft peaks, we can go ahead and start adding the sugar. We will add the sugar a 1/4 cup at a time slowly. If you see that the sugar crystals do start going on the side of the bowl, it's okay to take the whisk down and just scrape those sugars back into the mixture. That way they're fully incorporated. At this point, when the meringue starts forming peaks, we'll let it go to nice, very shiny, firm peaks. And if you see the sugars start to go on the side of the bowl again, it's best at this time, because the meringue is very firm, to instead take a spatula and go around the sides of the edges and bring that mixture back down to incorporate fully once again. It is good to continue checking your peaks at this time. This is what we are actually looking for. So you see these are very nice and firm and they're very shiny. So we'll go ahead and take that off the mixer now. And at this time, I also have the vanilla extract and the white distilled vinegar next to me. I will go ahead and mix this in carefully. It's also okay to do it when the mixer is still attached and just do it with the whisk, but it is easier to deflate the meringue that way. We also want to add in the cornstarch. You can use a sifter or a strainer just to sift right over it and not add any clumps. Once we fully fold the cornstarch in, we'll have a full-size sheet pan lined with parchment, and then on the parchment you can go ahead and draw circles, using this as a standard of measure. I'll go ahead and flip it over so that way my writing doesn't transfer onto the actual meringue, especially since they are white. So the first pavlova that I'll form will be a free form. So on this one, you just scoop your meringue right onto the sheet pan. We will take a wet spoon and just smooth out that inside, and this will be the area where the fillings will go once it is fully finished and baked. For the second pavlova, I'll do a little bit of a combination. This one I will also do a freeform method where we make the divot in the middle, but at the same time I will try to do a little bit of a pattern on the outside. So as you do this motion, you see the small ridges start to form on the outside, and this is supposed to represent the very traditional pavlova, the very first pavlova, which was inspired by a ballerina called Anna Pavlova in the early 1900s. And as you do this motion, you create this pattern that is actually supposed to resemble her tutu, the tutu of the ballerina. So this is what it would essentially look like once the product is finished and filled, resembling the tutu of the ballerina. This is another method that you can also do, where you just scoop the meringue and use the same motion to create that same pattern. This one was actually scooped using an ice cream scoop to create that more rounder look. The next technique that we'll be using will be the piping method. The piping method, it's actually nicer because you can create a more uniform look, especially if you have your circles drawn on the paper, you can just go right over. You want to make sure you create those barriers on the outside, which will keep your filling in. We will go ahead and bake these in an oven at 275 Fahrenheit. You can go up to 300, but it's best to keep it at 275 just to prevent it burning or cracking too early on because it cooks the outside very quickly. This was the first batch that we made, and these are the different piping methods right here. So we have the freeform, and then we have this one that was piped, and then you have the traditional tutu look to this pavlova, and also our original method is right here. These are a second batch that we made of just free-form pavlovas, and you would essentially use this little divot to put your cream or fillings. The pavlova itself will be firm on the outside. If you tap it, it should sound hollow. However, when you do crack it, the inside should still be a soft meringue. We don't want it to be wet or too gooey, but it will be a more tender meringue. It should be light and airy, but not liquidy. It will be essential before you store these away to put them in a nice cool place and sealed to prevent any moisture from coming into the meringues.